Welcome to Zoe Stories. I lost a bet and was forced to live as a girl. My name is Alex, and I'm 21 years old. I'm a regular college guy, nothing too special. I'm studying business, I've got a good group of friends, and life's been pretty smooth, well, until that day. It started like any other Saturday. We were hanging out at the dorm, playing video games and cracking jokes, just killing time. Then, someone probably on a dare decided to challenge me. It was a simple bet, really. A bet I thought I'd have no problem winning. My friends had no idea I had a bit of a secret, one I'd kept hidden for years. I didn't even think for a second that I might lose. But of course, life always has a way of throwing curveballs. I lost the bet, and with it, a challenge that seemed impossible. The terms were simple. I had to spend the next 24 hours living as a girl. Full-on transformation, clothes, makeup, the whole 9 yards. At first, I thought it was a joke. I laughed it off, but my friends weren't kidding. They pushed me into it, insisting that I follow through. At that moment, I realized something. It wasn't just a bet. It wasn't just about some silly dare. The real challenge for me was facing something I never thought I'd have to confront, the side of myself I'd been hiding for so long. A side that had only been an occasional thought, a fleeting curiosity. But now, it was about to become very real. And suddenly, everything that felt secure in my life, the friendships, my identity, my place in the world, felt like it could fall apart in an instant. When they first made the bet, I thought it was just a joke. Who would really force me to live as a girl? Sure, they'd been teasing me about my appearance before, how I was smaller than most guys, how I had a more delicate frame, but I never thought they'd take it this far. And yet, here I was, standing in the middle of the dorm room with everyone staring at me, waiting for me to either laugh it off or go through with it. I froze. My mind raced with 1,000 thoughts, none of them comforting. What if they're right? What if I actually look good as a girl? The question hit me harder than I expected, like an icy wave crashing over me. I'd never thought about it before, never dared to even entertain the idea, but now it felt like the most important thing in the world. But then, doubt started to creep in. What if people found out? What if this made everything harder? My reputation, my identity, it could all change in an instant. How could I face my family or the world if I followed through with this? What would my friends think? Would they still see me as Alex, the guy who'd always been one of the guys? Or would I become something entirely different? A joke, a curiosity? The fear gnawed at me. The thought of being seen as something I wasn't, it was terrifying. I had to decide quickly, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized there was no way out. If I didn't go through with it, I'd never hear the end of it. But if I did, well, I had no idea what would happen next. For a split second, a strange glimmer of hope flickered inside me. What if this wasn't just a bet? What if this could be the opportunity to explore something new, something I had kept buried deep down? Could I actually experience a different side of myself? Or was I walking into a trap I couldn't escape from? But before I could make sense of it, the pressure of everyone's eyes on me pushed me forward. It was time to decide. The days after the bet felt like a slow burn. Every time I caught sight of one of the guys, they'd throw me a knowing glance or chuckle. "You're really going to do it, right?" they'd ask, as if the whole thing was just a game, a simple dare. But it didn't feel like a game to me. I was already questioning everything. The line between humiliation and curiosity had blurred, and I wasn't sure how much of me would still be left after I crossed it. That night, as I lay in bed, I stared at the ceiling, the weight of the decision pressing on my chest. What if I did it? What if I gave into the challenge and stepped into a world I didn't know? I had never really thought about my body, my identity in such a way. But now, the thought gnawed at me, persistent and heavy. The way my roommates had looked at me, like they knew something I didn't, it kept replaying in my mind. Were they onto something? Was this something I needed to figure out, or just a mess I should avoid? I needed someone to talk to. I couldn't just keep this inside anymore. I called Mia, a friend I'd known for years. She was the one person who didn't judge me, who had always accepted me no matter what. She answered after 2 rings, her voice calm but tinged with curiosity. "What's up?" I hesitated before I spoke. Mia, you know about that bet, right? Yeah, I remember. You're still thinking about it. I could hear the worry in her voice. I don't know what to do, I admitted. I feel like I'm being forced to choose between being a joke or, I don't know, discovering something new about myself. What if I'm not even the person I thought I was? She was silent for a long moment, and when she spoke again, her tone had softened. Alex, sometimes we have to do crazy things to figure out who we really are. But you don't have to make it permanent. Just remember, if you do this, you're doing it for you, not them. But her words didn't erase the doubts lingering in my mind. In the days that followed, I avoided my roommates, not wanting to face the reality of my impending decision. Every time I saw them whispering and laughing, my heart rate would spike. They were pushing me toward a cliff, and I wasn't sure if I was ready to jump. But the consequences of backing out were starting to weigh on me too. Would I be able to live with the shame of turning down their challenge, or would I regret not taking the leap into something unknown? Then came the text, a message from one of the guys, Jake, reminding me that the dare had a deadline. I had one more day to make my decision. The text ended with a simple challenge. You in? Or are you backing out? I felt the walls closing in around me, suffocating me with the pressure. This was it. My last chance. Would I finally break free and step into something completely new, or would I stay in the comfort of what I knew, a prisoner to the fear of the unknown? My thumb hovered over the screen as I stared at the words. I was paralyzed with uncertainty. And then, just before I could send my reply, I saw the message from Mia again. Remember, you're doing this for you? I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. I knew what I had to do, but was I ready for what came next? The morning of the deadline arrived, and with it, the weight of the choice I had been avoiding for days. I paced my room, heart pounding in my chest. The walls felt like they were closing in, suffocating me with the sheer gravity of the moment. One simple decision, one moment of weakness or courage, and everything would change. I could hear the laughter of my roommates from the living room, their voices mocking, teasing, encouraging me to go through with it. They didn't care about the internal struggle I was battling. To them, it was a game. But to me, this was everything. The pressure was unbearable. My phone buzzed again. Jake, pushing me closer to the edge. You in, the message read, a challenge in those 3 words. But it wasn't just a challenge anymore. It was a decision I couldn't take lightly. I thought back to Mia's words. You're doing this for you. But was I? Was this really about me? Or was I just afraid of the consequences of backing out? If I didn't do this, if I let them down, I could lose everything, my friends, my pride. Or worse, I'd be stuck in the same place, forever wondering what could have been. I glanced at the clock. The deadline was hours away. 1 more hour, and my fate would be sealed. My stomach twisted into knots as I looked into the mirror, seeing only the uncertainty staring back at me. This was it. The moment where I would either prove to myself that I could face the unknown, or cower away from it, forever bound to my past. I took a deep breath and hit send on the reply. The first step felt almost surreal. Standing in front of the full-length mirror, I could barely recognize the person staring back at me. My heart pounded as I slipped into the soft, silky fabric of the dress they had picked for me, the coolness of it contrasting against the warmth of my skin. It was a light blue, delicate and flowing, far from anything I would have chosen for myself. But that was the point, wasn't it? To shed the layers of the person I had always been and step into something unfamiliar, something bold. Mia had insisted on doing my makeup. As the brush swept across my face, I could feel the weight of each stroke, each color. The foundation settled into my skin, smoothing away the tiredness, the uncertainty that had been etched on my face for years. It was like I was being remade, not just on the outside, but in ways I couldn't fully understand yet. The mascara darkened my lashes, and the lipstick brought an unexpected warmth to my lips. When she finished, I looked at myself again, and it was as if someone else was staring back at me. A girl. My mind raced, trying to keep up with the changes, the overwhelming shift in how I saw myself. I felt a strange mix of vulnerability and exhilaration. My hands trembled as I pulled the long hair from the wig into place. My reflection was softer now, more delicate. But beneath that softness, I felt raw, exposed. Who was I now? Was this really me? Mia stepped back and smiled, her eyes sparkling with a hint of pride. "You look amazing," she said, her voice filled with an emotion I couldn't name. But as she said that, I couldn't help but feel exposed, like I was on display. The others were in the next room, waiting, expecting. And there was no turning back now. A deep breath left my chest in a rush as I stepped forward, my heels clicking against the floor, each step more difficult than the last. When I entered the room, the stares hit me immediately. Jake's jaw dropped, his eyes wide with disbelief. And then, surprisingly, he laughed, a nervous, almost disbelieving sound. "I can't believe you actually did it," he said, his tone somewhere between awe and confusion. But it wasn't just the others that I could feel staring at me. It was me, the person in the mirror, the person now walking in a dress and heels, who didn't quite fit the mold I had carved for myself all these years. Every shift of my body felt foreign, my muscles unused to the sway of my hips or the delicate balance of the heels. It was as if my whole world had tilted on its axis. The awkwardness was palpable, my thoughts crashing against each other. What was I doing? Was I just pretending? But then a strange sense of freedom crept in. Each time I caught my reflection, the person staring back seemed more and more like someone I could be, someone I was starting to want to be. I didn't know what that meant yet, but something inside me clicked, like a door had been unlocked. The rest of the night passed in a blur, the sounds of laughter and the constant questioning of whether I could really go through with it. But with each passing hour, it became easier. The tightness in my chest started to loosen, and I found myself holding my head a little higher, my movements more fluid. For the first time in what felt like forever, I felt seen. Not in the way I expected, but in a new way, one that left me trembling, excited, and terrified all at once. I was changing, and not just on the outside. Every moment I spent in this new skin made me wonder if I had always been this person, hidden beneath the surface. Could I truly embrace who I was becoming, or was this just an experiment that would fall apart when the week ended? Only time would tell. But for now, I was here, and I wasn't turning back. The moment everything changed came when I stood at the edge of the crowd, my heart pounding so loudly it felt like the world could hear it. I had spent the last few days in a whirlwind of disbelief, the weight of my transformation settling on my shoulders like an invisible chain. The more I wore the dress, the more I became accustomed to the person I was starting to see in the mirror. But tonight, everything felt different. I was at a party, surrounded by people I barely knew, my stomach twisting with nerves as I sipped from a drink that had long since lost its taste. Mia had dragged me along, telling me it would be the final test, a way to prove that I could actually live as this new person. But now, with the music pounding and the lights flashing around me, I was questioning everything. Could I really keep this up? "You're doing great," Mia's voice broke through the fog of my thoughts. She appeared at my side, her gaze steady, a smile tugging at the corner of her lips. I forced a smile, but it felt strained. My chest tightened, and suddenly, I felt suffocated by the room, the noise, the pressure to be something I wasn't sure I could handle. Then it happened. A guy I hadn't noticed before, tall, confident, his eyes fixed on me, approached. He stood in front of me, and for a moment, it was like time stopped. His gaze swept over me, lingering on my face, my outfit, and for the first time, I felt exposed in a way that made me want to run. "You look incredible," he said, his voice low, like a challenge. For a split second, I froze, my mind racing. Was this who I had become? Was this the life I was about to lead? My thoughts collided in a dizzying rush. I don't belong here. But then, unexpectedly, a quiet voice inside me whispered, "You belong just as much as anyone." I swallowed, meeting his gaze. "Thanks," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I wasn't sure if I believed the words, but there was something liberating about saying them aloud. The guy smiled, but I could see the uncertainty flicker in his eyes, as if waiting for me to do something, to reveal who I really was. And in that moment, everything shifted. I wasn't just pretending anymore. This wasn't a costume. This wasn't some game. I was standing here in this new skin, and for better or worse, I was becoming someone new. But as I took a step back, trying to process everything, I felt the floor shift beneath me. Someone had bumped into me, and in a flash, my drink spilled all over my dress. The moment that had seemed poised to be the beginning of something new suddenly felt like the end. Panic surged. I'm sorry, I stammered, my face flushing. But then, to my surprise, the guy reached out, his touch gentle as he said, "It's okay. You're fine." In that small, simple moment, something in me clicked. I wasn't just surviving this transformation. I was starting to live it. And I had no idea where it would take me, but I knew I wasn't going to turn back. As I looked in the mirror the next morning, the person staring back at me was different, inside and out. I had started this journey thinking it was just a bet, something I had to get through, a temporary inconvenience. But now, after everything, I realized I had grown in ways I hadn't expected. My reflection no longer felt like a mask I had to wear for others. It felt like a part of me, a version of myself I had ignored for so long, now finally breathing and existing in the light. The night at the party had been the tipping point. It wasn't just about the clothes or the makeup or the way others saw me. It was about the quiet acceptance I began to feel toward myself. The fear that had gripped me was slowly being replaced by something else: confidence, self-awareness, and most importantly, acceptance. I wasn't trying to hide anymore. I wasn't living in fear of what people thought. I was embracing something new, and it felt freeing. Mia had been right all along, pushing me to confront my discomfort, to test my limits, and to embrace the possibility of change. I had feared judgment, rejection, but I learned that the most significant change was the one I made within myself. The more I accepted my new reality, the more others around me started to do the same. As for the future, I couldn't predict what would come next. But I had learned something invaluable. There's power in transformation. Whether it's physical, emotional, or both, embracing change opens the door to new experiences, new possibilities, and most of all, new versions of ourselves. And maybe, just maybe, I was only getting started. Thank you for joining us on another captivating journey through Zoe's stories. Remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a tale. Until next time, keep exploring, keep imagining, and keep believing in the magic of storytelling. See you in the next chapter.